Most hijackers who take control of an airplane want one of two things: money or a political statement. But some of the strangest moments in aviation history involve demands so bizarre, so specific, so completely absurd, that even the FBI agents involved could barely keep a straight face while writing their reports. A man who demanded a hearing before the Supreme Court over a $471 tax dispute. A hijacker who ran out of beer and hijacked a plane to get more. A teenager with nothing but an ink bottle and a dream of visiting Sweden. These aren't jokes, these are real, documented cases. And today, we're breaking down the strangest hijacking demands in aviation history. Let's go. Chapter 1. The man who wanted the Supreme Court. Let's start with, without question, one of the most bizarre hijackings ever recorded. And it began with a tax dispute. Arthur Gates Barkley was a salesman driver from Phoenix, Arizona, whose life had already been unraveling. A car accident had left him with hearing problems, which eventually cost him his job. On top of that, he believed the Internal Revenue Service owed him exactly $471.78, a debt he felt the government was unjustly withholding. Barkley tried the normal channels. Nobody listened. So on June 4, 1970, he boarded a Trans-World Airlines flight, carrying a briefcase he claimed contained a bomb. His demand wasn't for millions in untraceable cash or the release of political prisoners. Arthur Barkley wanted the US government to pay him his $471.78, and he wanted a personal hearing in front of the United States Supreme Court to argue his case. Let that sink in. A man hijacked a commercial airliner, not for a fortune, but to argue a tax dispute in front of the highest court in the country. After a tense standoff, FBI agents subdued him. Nobody was hurt, and Barkley, rather than becoming an infamous criminal mastermind, ended up confined to a mental institution. A strange, almost tragic footnote in hijacking history. Chapter 2. The hijacker who just wanted more beer. In June 1985, on a short domestic flight from Trondheim to Oslo, a 24-year-old man, described by investigators as apparently fed up with society, boarded the plane already slightly drunk, and things escalated quickly from there. He threatened the crew with a gun and demanded to personally speak with Norway's Prime Minister and Justice Minister about how he'd been treated during a previous prison sentence. The flight landed in Oslo almost exactly on schedule. He allowed the passengers to leave, but kept the flight crew, 2 pilots and 3 flight attendants, as hostages. Then came the demand that made this hijacking genuinely unforgettable. He positioned himself in one of the airplane's restrooms, keeping watch on his hostages, and simply kept drinking beer, repeatedly ordering the flight attendants to bring him more. Norway's Justice Minister later confirmed publicly that officials never seriously considered giving in to his demands. Eventually, the standoff ended without anyone being harmed. It remains, to this day, one of the strangest hostage situations in aviation history. Not because of the danger, but because of just how ordinary and absurd the entire situation felt. Chapter 3. The teenager with an ink bottle. Now here's a case that shows just how young and how unprepared some hijackers actually were. In the early 1970s, an American teenager, referred to in reports simply as David, walked into an airport already thinking about a hijacking he'd heard about just 2 weeks earlier, carried out by a Vietnam veteran. Near one of the gates, he approached an 18-year-old ballet dancer who was seeing her grandmother off on a flight. He put a pocket knife to her throat and forced his way onto the plane alongside her. His weapon of choice for the hijacking itself wasn't a gun or explosives. It was an ink bottle with a wick sticking out of the top, which he claimed was a bomb. His demand was simple: fly him to Sweden. The flight crew calmly explained that the aircraft didn't have the range to make it that far. David, apparently willing to negotiate, settled for Mexico instead. Eventually, the chief of airport police boarded the plane and spoke to him directly, telling him plainly that there was no way this would end well for him. He surrendered without anyone being hurt, and in an unusually merciful outcome, the judge overseeing his case sentenced him not to prison, but to 6 months in a home for at-risk children. Chapter 4. The hijacker with the suspiciously specific number. Some hijackers demanded round numbers, hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions. Frederick Hahnemann was different. In 1972, Hahnemann hijacked a commercial flight and demanded an oddly specific ransom, exactly $303,000. Investigators to this day still aren't entirely sure why that exact figure mattered so much to him. After receiving the cash, he directed the pilot to fly toward Honduras, his native country. where he intended to disappear. Once the plane reached Honduran airspace, Hahnemann parachuted out with the money strapped to him, vanishing into dense jungle below. For more than 20 days, he evaded capture, surviving in the wilderness. Eventually, exhausted and likely fearing capture more than surrender, he turned himself in at the US Embassy in Tegucigalpa. Here's the strangest twist of all. Despite his surrender, none of the ransom money was ever recovered. To this day, nobody knows what happened to $303,000 in cash that vanished somewhere in the Honduran jungle. Chapter 5. Why this era produced such strange cases. Here's the important context that makes all of these stories make more sense. Between the late 1960s and early 1970s, hijackings weren't the rare, heavily guarded against event they are today. During that period, a hijacking occurred, on average, once every 5 days somewhere in the world. Airport security, as we know it today, essentially didn't exist. There were no metal detectors, no ID checks, no restrictions on what you could carry onto a plane. That environment created space for genuinely unusual individuals, men driven by personal grievances, desperation, or simple bad decision-making, to attempt hijackings that, in any other era, would have been stopped before they ever started. So here's what these stories really tell us. Not every hijacking in history was a calculated political attack or a meticulously planned heist. Some were the actions of desperate, confused, or simply strange individuals who saw an unguarded door and walked through it, armed with nothing more than an ink bottle, a bad temper, and an impossible demand. These cases feel almost unbelievable today, in a world of body scanners and federal air marshals. But they happened, they're documented, and they're a strange human reminder that behind every headline, there's often a person whose real story is far stranger than the crime itself. Let me know in the comments which one of these demands shocked you the most. And if you found this episode informative, stay connected with us. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because we've got even more exciting and mind-blowing episodes coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss these.